I'm here with Tim O'Brien, Chief Revenue Officer at Scopely. Well, you may know Scopely from its blockbuster game Monopoly Go, or from when it made waves by acquiring Niantic's games and its portfolio, including Pokemon Go, for $3.5 billion. Scopely is so much more. The breadth of its portfolio is remarkable, with 6 franchises that gross over $1 billion in lifetime revenue. Let's take a quick look here at what we're going to be talking about today and set the stage for Scopely.
What's the play there?
Kick him in the face. A lot there.
It's a lot there.
So let's use that as our jumping off point, which, I don't know how many people in this room actually understand how big the mobile gaming industry is. So can you start off there for us and just really set that, what the scale of this industry is at this point?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. It's great to be back here again 2 years in a row, and for honoring us with the $1 billion brand honor, I guess. Yeah. So thank you so much. It's funny you asked that question because for years I've been talking about how the gaming industry as a whole is so large compared to the other entertainment mediums. And this morning I got really smart and I went on ChatGPT and verified that information. I don't have my phone with me right now, but it did say that, and I quote, that gaming is the largest entertainment medium in the world at this point, larger than larger than movies, film, television, and the music industry combined, and actually double that size. 2024, I believe the industry was close to $200 billion in revenue. So it's a great industry to be in today, and a great industry to partner with as well, yeah.
And then when we're looking at mobile specifically, I think for most people, immediately when you think of gaming, sometimes PC comes to mind or consoles and stuff. And I don't know that mobile comes immediately, but we all have a phone in our hands. And more people are gamers than they think because they play a mobile game. So I want to know how you see the mobile section of the gaming industry and what the percentage is there.
Yeah. I think it kind of, the mobile, there was feature phones back in the early 2000s where people were gaming, and then I think things really took off when Jobs and Apple launched the original iPhone in 2007, which, going back to that day, actually was a closed ecosystem. There was no app store when Apple launched the iPhone, and they wanted to control the device, and then that first year in 2007, which is when I became interested in gaming as a business, a whole team of coders cracked the phone. And for the first year, it was called the jailbroken days. And what was phenomenal about that period of time is that a lot of consumers started jailbreaking their phones, and they were not engineers. They were not, hackers. And games that were being built then by developers or 2 or 3, 4-person shops were getting downloaded like hundreds of thousands, if not one game in particular 1 million times. And so it forced Apple to ultimately launch the App Store in 2008, which is when I pivoted into games and teamed up with a company that had made this original game called Tap Tap Revenge, which was the first big franchise on the iPhone. And I think which created this, I like to call it closet gamers. The stats are that 15% of people will tell you they're gamer, but 50% of people actually globally actually play mobile games. And it's a huge stat, but mobile gaming has transformed, I think, the entertainment industry. It's become, I think, culturally the medium of choice where a lot of consumers want to spend their time. In the Scopely portfolio of games that we have live today, in the last 12 months, we had 5 billion hours of gameplay. So that's just one company. And that can give you a sense of the scale, the amount of time that people are playing in these games. And one of the reasons, and I think the premise of why we originally started the company, and then people want to play together, And I think this technology has enabled people to play together at scales that they never envisioned. And it's also one of the reasons that every one of our games is about building communities and adding social features to enable you to have no friction entering the game. It's free to play. And then playing with your friends, meeting new friends, and having an immersive social experience that you can engage with every day on the hour. And so I think mobile as a platform has really, transformed games for sure.
So we've established how big the mobile gaming industry is. How can you place Scopely within that? You guys are #1 in the US, you're #2 in the world. What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, so a couple things. If you had told me in 2014 that you would be telling me that stat, I would have never envisioned it for sure, nor would I envision even a number with a billion associated with it. We were fighting for our survival and hadn't even raised the Series A. But I mean, today, our position in the market is a very strong one. Like you just said, by revenue as a publisher, we're the #1 Western mobile gaming company in the world. #2 outside of Tencent, if you include China. So that's a really great honor. And ultimately, the revenue is derived from, consumers engaging with these experiences. And we've been very focused on that. We've been very focused on, fortunately for us, we've always been a privately held company. Even now, since we've sold to Savvy Games Group in 2023, it's ultimately still like being part of a private entity. And so we don't have the pressures that a lot of publicly traded companies do. It enables our creators to have longer lead times, higher investment dollars into these franchises, and position us to, hopefully continue to be dominant in the market.
For those who haven't read our $1 billion brand story, which is in the issue, and you should check it out. Thank you. Can you set up how you got involved with Scopely and what it was that brought you into the company originally, where you were first?
Yeah, thanks. I already shared about how I transitioned into gaming. I was in technology, and before that, I had been in the music business for many years. And I guess coming out of Berkeley Business School, everyone in my class was going into finance, and I was going into the music business because I was very drawn to live events. I just had a passion for those type of experiences and the coming together and maybe the spiritual journey that you go on going to a concert. But ultimately, I pivoted into technology and then into gaming in 2008. But that kind of premise and what drew me to my career in the first place exists in gaming today, right? I love being involved in creating at-scale global, consumer experiences, specifically centered around community. And so I think in 2014, I had been at Disney because we had sold that company, iPhone company called Tapulous to Disney. In 2010, I got to meet one of my dearest friends, Javier Ferrara, who's the co-CEO at Scopely, and we built a great relationship at Disney. And I think we learned a lot of valuable lessons there, working with some of the biggest IP in the world, some of the constraints you have working in a big media company trying to build games. And then the market was shifting at that point. I think that free-to-play was becoming a dominant play style in mobile, and we thought there was an opportunity to build something really big. And we met up with Walter, who had started the company a couple years earlier, and ultimately we had a strategy. And that strategy was, okay, we don't have a lot of capital yet. That strategy was to have a very unique approach to working with the best developers and game talent in the world. So whereas a lot of the big, at the time, gaming companies were very structured. They would only work with the studios that they had acquired or that they had built in-house. And so we were like, well, we don't have a lot of money, so we got to go figure out a model where we could still work with the best game teams in the world and bring them under the tent. And so we did that. And that's always been, I think, one of the core principles of the company, which is that we want to find the best talent in the world to build games. And then we want to give them, kind of like this wrapper of technology, which is we call Playgami, which I think is industry leading in terms of helping them build those games, to acquire customers, to view data. And then we want to take those learnings and share them across the portfolio. And we think there's a lot of strength in that. And the final piece in 2014 was, and we want to work with big IP. And because we knew that could create a unique advantage for a company that just didn't have billions of dollars to compete. And so that's what we did. And we just kind of evolved over the last 11 years. M&A became a critical piece of that. In the last 5-6 years, and we ultimately, in some ways, we kind of redesigned the IP licensing, game licensing business a little bit too along the way. We could talk more about that, but that journey ultimately led me to think, I mean, I never thought I would stay at this company for more than a couple of years. I was like, okay, I'll get it. I'm out of Disney. Okay, that was a great learning experience. I want to be an entrepreneur again. Let's go do this mobile games publishing thing. Could be cool. And then every year, it's been just an extraordinary journey because I have had to just, ultimately had a tremendous amount of growth. And the challenges that we were tackling, that I got to tackle on a yearly basis, just evolved. And we stayed ahead of the market. I think we've beat the market by 8x in the last few years. And I think the strategy has not really changed. It's evolved a little bit, but those core principles remain the same. And then we worked really, really hard to attract the best talent in the world. And either that's through investments in studios or just recruiting the best talent. And, you get to a certain scale like we are today, it's easier. It's easier because you have scale. It's easier because people are attracted to come work at places where they get to work with the best talent. And talent attracts more talent. So, that's why I chose the company in 2014. I'm still here 11 and a half years later. Because part of my job is M&A for a living. So I look at a lot of companies, I talk to a lot of founders and CEOs, and a lot of times you're trying to design deal structures to incentivize people to stay. And we were acquired 2 years ago, and I just can't imagine leaving right now. I'm having a great time. It's fun to be winning, which is one of our tenets. It's also fun to work with people you care deeply about and continue to evolve with the industry. So I think, even though we look at Scopely today as a portfolio-based company with a lot of games and a lot of games in development, I'm really excited about that next hill we're going to go climb and hopefully climb with people I really enjoy working with.
Entertainment IP then seems like a big part of this. How did you structure those deals early on in the company's history to get partners like Monopoly to bring on those names, and then on top of that later on have Star Wars come into the game and have Marvel come into the game? What kind of deal structures lead to those?
Yeah, I mentioned it just a few minutes ago. I think there's been a transformation in terms of the relationship between a game publisher and developer and the IP holder. In the early days, there were a lot of Asian companies that were trying to come penetrate the U.S. market, and so they're putting some pretty crazy deals in place. I know because when I was at Disney, I was seeing those deals, and we had a different premise, which was like, hey, the model of get the biggest MG for the shortest period of time so you could renew or go sell it again isn't going to work in free-to-play games. And it's not going to work because we're going to invest a tremendous amount of money in development. Then we're going to invest a tremendous amount of money in building an audience here. By the way, an audience that's probably larger than anything else you have around your brand. I mean, for sure, Monopoly Go, Pokemon. I mean, those audiences are millions and millions of people playing them every day. And so you want to protect that audience, and you want to nurture and cultivate that relationship with the consumer. And so we had to kind of ultimately, show them by doing and being successful and educate a number of our partners over time that model needs to shift. It needs to become more of a profit share model, an investment-based model. And so when you make that shift, you start realizing that the value that you can get from that partnership, and I'll just talk about Hasbro for a second. Hasbro was one of my first calls at 2014. Let's be really clear, not a lot of people took my call. I had to get introduced to 3 people into a guy named Mark Blecker at the time at Hasbro, and took my call, and a great gentleman. And at first I tried to pitch him on something that I was not in a place to pitch on. It was one of their biggest mid-core IP. And he's like, yeah, okay, talk to our licensing guy. And I talked to the licensing guy, and he's like, well, I see you've got this Dice with Buddies thing. Have you thought about Yahtzee? And so very similar game mechanic. And I was like, yeah, I have thought about Yahtzee. And so ultimately, Hasbro, I thought, were very forward-thinking in how they were thinking about their business model. And that led to us launching Yahtzee with Buddies. I think we had a first-year projection of $2 million. We did in the first 30 days. So we immediately had the largest Yahtzee product they'd ever produced at Hasbro. And so people were surprised. And that then we iterated on that relationship, and that turned into Scrabble with Buddies with a forward-thinking model. Complex deal because we had to bring Mattel into the fold because they own the license 50-50, but we got there. And which ultimately led to Monopoly. Monopoly had never been made and never had a free-to-play game. We knew it was a really, really special IP. And just to give you a sense of that journey, we built that game almost 3 times. And after the first version of the game that we built, Hasbro play tested it for a lot of their employees. People were pretty happy with it. It would have been a very successful game. It would have been a successful game. And but there was something that we felt deep down, the creators on the game, that were like, it could be better. Like, this thing kind of deserves to be, it needs more attention. And so we scrapped the whole thing and we started again. And by the way, for a VC-funded company, it wasn't an easy decision at the time. And we spent 7.5 years building that game. And when we launched that game, it was the biggest game in the world. And it touched people all over the world. I think it gave them a new, and you got to hand it to Hasbro because they enabled us to iterate on the IP. There was a board game, people knew that board game, and they've done a lot of licensing around the board game, but we wanted to change a lot of the model to the game. And they, because the relationship we'd built and the trust we had built through success in business, and because when we say we're going to do something, we do it, they gave us the flexibility to do that. And Chris Cox, the CEO right now, recently quoted to an analyst, he's like, Monopoly Go is like having $1 billion Monopoly movie every year for our business. And so that's pretty cool. And then, people talk. And so, over the years, I would say that the relationship and the business terms have changed with IP holders. And, that thing today is that because at our scale, launching a small game doesn't make any sense anymore to us. And so we're in the big franchise, community-driven businesses. And to do that, there's very few IP actually at this point that would make sense for those type of games for us. And so we've also evolved the model where, because we have a lot of IP we still love to work with, where we're bringing limited time, very deep integrations into existing platform games. And so like you mentioned, Star Wars and Marvel, those are the first 2 IP integrations we did in Monopoly Go. And so we had never brought in IP to that game. We had a conversation with Disney, a longstanding partner with Marvel Strike Force. And they were like, yeah, this could be really cool. We see how big this thing is. And the beauty of that model, which is, back in the day, the media companies were trying to build video games to marry up to movie launches. It did not go well. There is like a whole graveyard of games that did not succeed because they were under such tremendous pressure to meet a date. And you cannot be successful in my business if you have a date. You just can't. But you can be successful if you have a date around an IP integration into an existing game. And so that model has been very, exciting and fruitful for us. And Stumble Guys, we do almost 1 a month. We've done Barbie, we've done Pac-Man. And so we can time those with events. And in Monopoly Go, we timed the Marvel integration, the second phase of that, with the Fantastic Four movie. We hit the date. It's no problem. We do a very deep consumer integration. The players are happy. Marvel's happy. And then you do that for a period of time, and everybody's happy. So we're doing more and more of those events. When you have like at-scale platform type games with global reach, you can strike those kind of partnerships, and I think they're good for everybody.
I want to be mindful because we have said free-to-play here a few times, and I want to make sure everyone understands what that means.
Understand what that means. Yeah.
How does a free-to-play game make money?
Well, good question. So traditional box games, you'd go into a retailer, you'd pay $50, $80, $90, whatever that price is. You take it home, plug in a console, you play. Free-to-play ultimately there is no price point. So you go into the game, it is built to give you an experience that you don't have to pay in. You can play, grind out time, you can play with friends, and depending on the game, will have different business models. There's in-app purchases, so you can buy items, you can buy currency, you can buy goods in that game to use to enhance your experience, to move you farther along the game, to get there faster potentially. There's ads, again, depending on the game. So you can watch an ad and get a reward for watching that ad. Sometimes there's just static ads. And then the third piece, which Apple enabled a number of years ago, is subscriptions. So you could pay for a subscription and get things every month with that subscription. It's up to the developer to decide how they want to embrace each one of those monetization models. For instance, in Monopoly Go, we have IAP, and I believe we have subscriptions now, but no ads. But then other games have ads. Scrabble, Yahtzee, the dominant form of revenue for those games are ads. So I think in more the hyper-casual and casual space, you're going to see more ad-based games. And then as you get into mid-core, it's going to be generally around in-app purchase. But again, there are people that never pay a dime. They want to experience this game. They want to be in the playing with their friends in these communities, and they don't pay anything. But we like to provide as flexible experience as possible for players and consumers.
All of that has led to 6 brands within Scopely that have crossed $1 billion in lifetime revenue each. And then Monopoly Go itself is at $5 billion. Just crossed that.
That's right,
yes.
yeah.
All right. So what do you think led to that? What led to those successes? And now you've also acquired Pokemon Go, which you guys did not bring up from the top, but you now have that brand as well, which also is a $1 billion brand. Yeah. So within that, how did you reach that scale so quickly?
Yeah. A couple stats to give you a sense of the portfolio scale. It took us 12 and a half years to reach the first $5 billion in revenue, and 1.4 years to reach the last $5.4 billion in revenue. So we are definitely on a run rate that's one of the largest in the industry. And I think what's really special about what you just said is that's a lot of games that have had a lot of revenue. So I think that's the premise and early kind of strategic thinking, which is that we were going to be a portfolio company. It was very important for us to be a portfolio company. And it's very easy to not be a portfolio company, because what happens is you get a hit, depending on your version of a hit, and you want to stay in that genre because it's easy. It makes sense, right? King with Candy Crush. Yeah. So they had a match 3. They got that technology. They understood how to make it. They tried to diverge from that a number of times, but ultimately that was their genre. And so when Star Trek Fleet Command came out, 4X, we'd never built a 4X game, which is a strategy game. There's an argument that we should be in the 4X business. Okay, nothing's as big, nothing's even close to this scale. Let's license other IP and be in the 4X business. But staying true to who we were and what we thought could ultimately build the longest, most durable business is we got to be a portfolio business. We want to operate in all the different gaming categories: casual, mid-core, RPG, puzzle. And so we did that, and it was very important to us. And if you think about even the M&A targets over the last, we've done 10 deals in the last few years, but think about the 3 biggest targets. They were all different businesses. GSN from Sony, casual game business. Fox Next from Disney, mid-core, Marvel Strike Force. And then Pokemon Go, you can argue casual RPG with real-life interactions on the ground, but all different categories. And so I think that's very important. So we definitely, I think that's probably that. And so that diversified portfolio, and then I think, ultimately every game needs to be focused on social and community. If not, it's not going to be able to get it anywhere near the scale that we want to achieve and build the type of long-lasting, forever business that we're hoping to achieve. And then I guess the third piece, maybe, if you think about the ingredient that creates that scale business, is our flexibility on how we partner. We pride ourselves on being flexible. I have redone a lot of deals because marketplace conditions have changed. And like I said earlier around the studios, even today, we have a lot of capacity. We own a lot of studios. We have a lot of investments. We're consistently investing in studios. If we think there's a game team out there that is doing something unusual, or a world-class group of people just spun out from something else, or they built something that is new that could penetrate the market, it's a very difficult market to build audience in today. We are all over it. I got teams flying there. We're on the ground, doesn't matter where they are, trying to figure out how to partner with them. And so I think that flexibility and kind of non-constraint when it comes to how we're going to structure deals has been a unique advantage for us, because we don't have anybody telling us this is the way you're supposed to do it, or if it doesn't meet this timeline, your financials aren't going to make any sense. And I think it's a real blessing, gives a very unique competitive advantage in the market.
In a very crowded marketplace, I want to know how you're looking at M&A moving forward. You just closed this Niantic deal, but you work with people all the time. You have partners all the time. You have conversations all the time. What your focus is moving forward when there are so many options out there? You all already are a success in many ways. How much more you want to add? What you want to look at? Where you feel like something's missing?
That was a lot. Thank you. Yeah, M&A for sure is a key pillar of our strategy, and it's one of the reasons that it's made us successful, because we've been able to. Because when you build from the ground up, a company with incredible technology, the ability to incorporate new teams and studios into it, and work with some of the biggest IP in the world. And then you have this learning machine on top of that, data and sharing data. And I think people are attracted to that. And so, and on top of that, we've had a lot of successful partnerships in terms of on the investment studio side. And so I think, first of all, that builds reputation. And so, but we had to continue to raise capital to get bigger, as well as launch games. And so I think when we met Savvy Games Group, which is, and they had a mission to be the largest gaming company in the world and a lot of capital to go do it, we knew that if we wanted to compete at the next level, we need access to large amounts of capital. And so that was very attractive to make them a partner for us. And really, we kind of traded 100 investors for one. And they had said that, hey, they've got $38 billion to deploy. And through the relationship and the trust built with them, they ultimately decided that we were the right vehicle to deploy the majority of that capital through. And so the first transaction that we've done is the Niantic games business from Niantic at $3.5 billion. It closed this last May. Incredible business. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Pokemon Go. It launched 10 years ago. It's the only game in the world where an interaction between the real world and the digital game happen on a continual basis. They have this concept of these Go Fest that they hold every year, and they sell millions of tickets to these events. People come and play in cities all over the world with this game, and it's the largest community I've ever seen, a real-world community around a digital product. And 10 years in, and one of the reasons we were so attracted to the company and their mission is that they're having their biggest year ever 10 years in. And that game has been iterated on, it's grown, the team is still there intact, and the partnership with the Pokemon company is probably the deepest I've ever seen. And so just the opportunity to get involved in that business was exciting to us. And the learnings we could share. And so, yeah, that transaction closed in May. It's been a fantastic integration, and they're ahead of schedule on the model, and they're selling, and people are engaging with the product. And so I think that you'll see from us more deals like that in the market. I think that we are looking for scaled franchises that have longevity and that we share a lot of values with the team on. And then we are constantly making studio investments all over the world. Most of them don't get announced, but yeah, we're looking across the spectrum at ways that we can build, continue to add to our business, continue to find people that we can learn from, and ultimately, people that are very focused on community-driven social experience games that we want to be a part of. And it can be original IP, it can be licensed IP. It doesn't really matter to us, but yeah, hopefully we can do some. I mean, last year I said this thing called the mega deal. It carried with me for like a whole year. I'm glad I didn't get one of those quotes this year, but we did close it. It was Niantic. So, but yeah, I mean, M&A is just one of the pillars, and it gives us a unique advantage in market, and we'll continue to execute for sure.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Tim. I so appreciate it.
Thank you very much.